CS2 cases are totally and utterly and in this video, we're going to be having a look at why. There's been two theories floating around for years and years and years at this point. The first idea is that Valve want to get rid of trading and third-party marketplaces so they make more money from the Steam market. The second is that Valve want to get rid of cases. Now, in general, the arguments for this happening haven't been very good. Trading and third-party markets are the entire reason the skin system has grown to be what it is today. The system that's currently making Valve $1 billion per year. Some developers would be genuinely stupid enough to do that, but Valve are not one of them. Now, the arguments against cases generally focus on the armory being added to the game as being some sort of new alternative. This ignores the fact that the armory is quite literally one giant fuck-off case with literal cases in it, and those cases are the most profitable thing in there by a mile. Look, not saying it couldn't happen, but I am saying this argument isn't compelling. But on their second theory, lately there's been some new developments that change things quite a bit. First of all, rather than giving us a second new case this year, Valve made the strange decision to add a very poorly received piece of kit called the Genesis Terminal to the game, where rather than spinning for a 10-cent skin, you can buy a red skin directly from Valve for $200 instead. No golds though, they're not included. Still, there's clearly been a lot of effort put into this thing. It's not just some throwaway addition. And then there's the second development, the update that I mentioned at the start of the video that lets you trade up for knives. In putting these two things together, there is a very obvious next step, which is to turn cases into terminals and make it so you can only get knives from trade-ups. Both these changes are weird, they are unexpected, they are unprecedented, and there isn't obvious reasons for them. You might assume Valve is doing this to try and make more money, but that does not make a lot of sense. Firstly, Valve have a $1 billion a year money printer in cases that they've spent 12 years carefully and patiently growing. Changing that all into terminals is a massive existential risk that could blow up the entire thing if it isn't handled right. Optimizing the system is one thing, but this is something much more radical. And on top of that, the Genesis terminal doesn't seem to be as lucrative as cases. As far as I can tell based on the database, the terminal is making about as much money as any of the actively dropping cases, which might sound okay, except the terminal is 40% of the drop pool. And when I say about as much money, it's worth keeping in mind that the fee of the case is being opened about 3 times as much as the actively dropping cases, so the Genesis terminal isn't even close to what a good case in the armory does. So again, this is a massive risk. If you're just trying to make more money, the logical thing to do is to add a cool new case to the armory, not to replace the entire thing with terminals. So why? Well, it may have something to do with this. EU MPs agree on recommendation for Europe to make full use of its powers to ban loot boxes for minors, and as you can see, this is October 15. So basically what's happened here is that some EU body, after a couple of years of deliberation, has adopted a report calling for the European Commission to do a bunch of things to protect minors online, and one of them is banning loot boxes in games accessible to minors, so you know, like Counter-Strike. And given the fact that Europe is one of Counter-Strike's biggest marketplaces and the European Union has some fucking teeth when it comes to these kinds of regulations, you can see what Valve is trying to do. They're trying to get ahead of this with terminals. And because of that, cases are probably fucked. Now, this all probably sounds pretty alarming. There is a massive loot box ban imminent, Valve looks like they're setting up to completely overhaul cases, and that's gonna have big consequences for skins as a whole. But it probably won't be an apocalypse, and I want to talk about this aspect. First of all, the timing. We don't know how quickly this ban will be coming into effect, or how quickly it'll be enforced, or how comprehensive it'll actually be. Valve has the ability to turn all cases into terminals, but if they have the option to let the rest of the world still have them, there's a very good chance they're going to go for that. After all, cases make $1 billion. If they can save some of them, they probably will. Secondly, the cases themselves. Even if they're turned into terminals, they're probably not going to be completely worthless. While we can only speculate about the implementation, the terminal is definitely still based on market mechanics. So while the skins in them are cheaper than the skins on the market, the cost of the terminal makes up the difference. Could this transition crash terminal prices? Yes, but it's not guaranteed, and there's definitely a scenario where the new terminals end up becoming even more expensive than they were as cases. And finally, I want to make it clear, this is not the end of skins. Again, Valve make $1 billion a year from this system. They're gonna do everything in their power to try and preserve it, and if they have to remove cases, they're gonna do it in a way that doesn't destroy the entire thing. The reason skins are so lucrative is because you can buy and sell them for real money. The reason Valve created skins is because they wanted to create an economy in the first place. The goal behind this transition won't be to take away people's fun. It's going to be to try and save it, because keeping people's fun is how they convince their player base to keep handing over the fat stacks. And while there's some very rough waters on the horizon, Valve have a vested interest in keeping the skin economy alive, and you can be confident they're going to be doing their very best to ensure just that. Cases might be fucked, but for the time being, skins as a whole definitely aren't. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe, massively appreciated. Otherwise, trust the numbers, not your guts. I'm Heyzeus, thanks for watching, see ya.